So hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with another The Hunter Call of the Wild video. Now this video was recorded during early access for Emerald Coast, so a huge thank you to EW for allowing me to take part in this early access. Now in this video we're going to be taking a look at the brand new 22250 and the buffed 223. Now we're actually just going to go to the store here and I'm just going to pick up the 223 bolt action and we're just going to go through and then actually take a look at the new 22250 in the store. So scrolling all the way down to actually find it, and there we have the Zagan Varminter 22250. So you can see it costs 7,000 credits, but it also says can also be obtained by completing the story missions in Emerald Coast, Australia. So you can either just purchase it straight off the bat like I'm going to do here, or you can just complete the story missions and get this rifle for free, which is a really good thing, I think. It's a shame that there's not like a special variant of it for completing the missions, but it is also nice that you can just get the rifle itself just for free just by doing the missions. But like I said, we're just going to pick that up straight away so that we can test it out in this video. Now, looking at the ammo, we do have polymer tips and soft points as you would expect, and it can take all of the scopes that you'd expect. The Argus, the Ascent, the Gen Zero Night Scope. It can take basically everything you would expect any normal rifle in-game to do. So that's really good to see. Now before we get into this video, just taking a look at the penetration stats, and in fact all of the stats when comparing the 223 and the 22250. Now all of the stats are the same, they cover the same classes, they have the same expansion when looking at the polymer tip ammo, which is what we are going to be using for both. But the 22250 has 5 more penetration than the 223. Now, from what I understand, as I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to guns, I'm not, very well versed when it comes to guns, so I have been doing some research and talking to people who are more knowledgeable about guns than me. This is accurate from what I understand. The 22250 should have more penetration and hit a bit harder, so that is pretty accurate from what I understand. Now we're going to start off by testing the buffed 223, and we're going to be using the bolt action here just because it is my preference, but the ammo is what is actually getting buffed, not the guns themselves. So basically any gun that uses the 223 ammo, so that includes the AR, will actually have this buff. It doesn't matter what version of the 223 you're using, if you're using anything that takes the 223 ammo, it will have received the buff. So that's what's important, is it's actually based off the ammo, not the gun itself. As you will have seen, it took a sort of quartering 2 shot on that one feral goat and it didn't go very far before it dropped. And then actually managed to make a heart shot on one as I was on my way to claim that first goat. And I was actually impressed that that actually managed to get through to the heart. Now, taking a look at this first goat that we shot sort of quartering 2, there was a medium bleed rate in the lead up to actually picking this goat up, and I was actually quite impressed. It went down fairly quickly and a lot better than I would have expected from the old 223. And you can see quite a bit of penetration. It's pretty decent, especially at that angle, and I was actually pretty impressed with this. I think it did a lot better than the old 223 would have actually done, and I'm really happy to actually see that. It brought this goat down in a reasonable amount of time with a decent bleed rate, so I was actually pretty impressed with this first shot from the 223. Actually a really decent test, I thought, and at that quartering angle it still got through, and yeah, I was pretty happy to see that it actually did so well. Then taking a look at the second goat, and again I thought this would be a pretty good test, would be trying to go for a frontal shot and see what kind of penetration we could get at that angle. And as you saw, it was a heart shot, and taking a look here, there is plenty of penetration there. It's gone through all of that neck and chest flesh, straight into the heart and lung, which again, I feel like that's a lot better than what the old 223 would have been able to do. I'm really impressed with that, and that was something I really wanted to test, was a frontal shot, just to see if it would be able to get through to lungs. I got lucky being able to hit the heart there. I wasn't sure I'd be able to hit the heart. I struggle a bit with that on the feral goats because of all the, of course, the hair that they have on their necks. But it actually did manage to get through and, decent enough penetration there. So I was pretty impressed. Now we're going to test it on something a little bit bigger than a feral goat. We're going to test it on a kangaroo. Now this is a class 4 animal, and I wanted to try and make a lung shot just so that we could see how long it would take for this animal to actually go down. Now, it's kind of difficult with the kangaroos. Sometimes you'll end up hitting heart, I find, when you're not even going for heart, just because of where it is. And you've got quite a narrow sort of aiming area to try and get into those vitals. But did manage to make a long shot, and you can see it doesn't go too terribly far before he actually flips over there. And just again, that animation for the kangaroos is so fantastic. But once again, I was pretty impressed. It did obviously get through to the vitals, and yeah, he didn't take that long to actually go down. So we'll take a look. Just again, the kangaroos are just absolutely stunning. But you can see flesh and left lung there with the 223. So let's take a look and see what kind of penetration it got. So it got pretty okay penetration, I'd say, against a class 4 animal. Not a whole ton, but there's plenty there to get into the lung, and obviously if you aimed correctly, it would go straight into the heart. So I would say that that was, again, pretty decent and better than what I would have expected from the old 223. If I had lined that up for a heart shot, it would have gone through to the heart and probably then into the lung as well. It's got plenty of penetration there to get through to the vitals. Now we'll test it against the minimum class, which is class 2. So again, the 223 and the 22-250 both cover classes 2 to 4. So this is the minimum class, where we just looked at the max class on the kangaroo. So taking a look against a red fox, and as you will have seen, it absolutely dropped this beautiful female red fox. And it was actually a heart shot, which again, I wasn't necessarily going for, but it did get through to heart. Now, when you take a look at the penetration on something like a fox, it really doesn't look like it has all that much penetration. Now, my shot there was a little bit low, and it basically kind of like missed under the lung and hit the heart, just barely. So I kind of got lucky with that shot. But the penetration just doesn't look as good when you compare it on something smaller like this fox than when we looked at it just now on the kangaroo. And I think that could be something to do with the bullet path. It's kind of odd, but, you know, still plenty to get through there to a vital and bring that fox down. Now here, I tried to make another shot on a fox, and again ended up dropping another female. And I was trying to get a shoulder shot, because I know that with the old 223, I ended up shooting a legendary coyote and it hit the shoulder blade, and it didn't have enough penetration to go through that shoulder blade and actually into the lungs, and I ended up losing a diamond coyote. Now, unfortunately, I still didn't hit the shoulder blade here, but taking a look at the penetration, I think it probably would have gone past. I can't obviously be sure, as I just couldn't get a shot on film where I actually hit the shoulder blade, even though I was actively trying to hit the shoulder. But I feel like that penetration is still a lot better than what we would have seen in the past, even at an angle like this. So that's really good to actually see. They definitely have done quite a decent buff on this. Now we're going to compare it to the new 22-250. So we're going to start off with feral goats exactly the same way as we did with the 223. So we had a pretty decent sort of mostly broadside shot there with this feral goat, and as you can see, it obviously got through to vitals, and he is running off there, definitely going to go down pretty quickly. Now, once again, there was a medium bleed rate, as you can see right here by this goat, which was nice. And we have one of the beautiful looking feral goats absolutely smoked with the 22-250. Now, it was a lung shot, which is what I was going for. And like I said, it did give a medium bleed rate the same as the 223. But as expected, after looking at the statistics for the two rifles, or rather the ammo, I should say, for the two rifles, there is more penetration from the 22-250. So that is, to me, that's better. I like seeing more penetration, because it just means that if you've got a bit of a tougher angle or something, you're more likely to go through and get to the vitals. So it was really pleased to see that from the 22-250. Now we're going to do the same thing as we did before and take a frontal shot on a goat. Now, I was going for the heart, but unfortunately didn't quite get it this time. Like I said, getting heart shots on feral goats is kind of difficult, just because it's harder to work out where you need to line up your shot, just because of all of that neck hair. But it did get through to a lung, so it managed to punch all the way through all of the neck/chest flesh. God, that's an odd thing to say, but it got through all of that flesh there and actually punched really quite far into that lung. So again, if I lined it up correctly for a heart shot, or, you know, you lined it up for a heart shot, it definitely would get that heart, and then it would definitely get that lung as well, looking at that penetration. That's really quite impressive. I'm really, really happy with the performance of the 22-250. I think it's done really, really good. Now this time we have a mythical kangaroo, and we're going to try and get a shot on him with the 22-250. Now this time I kind of ended up making an accidental heart shot there, as I was actually trying to go for the lungs, but he kind of dipped down to flee just as I took the shot. But that doesn't really matter. We can still take a look at how the rifle actually performed and the kind of penetration it got, which I feel is more important now, because of course quick kill doesn't matter anymore, so that's really not a factor. What you're looking for is just something that is going to give you that vital shot so that you can actually tick off that harvest check. And the 22-250 did a remarkable job here, heart going through to that lung and then actually hitting the shoulder blade. The extra penetration here really shows, and I would feel more confident taking a shot like this with the 22-250. The 223 can obviously do the job, but the 22-250 just has that extra power and that extra punch, which again, from what I've been told, is fairly realistic, so I'm really glad to actually see that. Now, exactly the same as we did with the 223, we tested it on feral goats, so the mid class, then kangaroos being the max class, and then on red fox being the minimum class. We did exactly the same for the 22-250, so now we're on the minimum class here, with the red fox being a class 2. Now, once again, the 22-250 did a fantastic job, absolutely smoked this fox. I was deliberately trying to not get a spine shot and try to just get a lung shot, and that's exactly what I managed to do, and it absolutely dropped this stunning looking red fox. And again, just look at that penetration. That is so fantastic to actually see. It really is quite impressive, the penetration that this rifle gets. It's honestly better than I thought this rifle would be. It has actually surprised me, and I really do like this rifle. I think it is absolutely fantastic. I feel that it fits its niche really well in that class 2 to 4 range, and I just really like it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, for the final test, we're going to try again and get sort of a more quartering to or sort of more broadside shot here on a red fox. And again, I was trying to go for that shoulder area just to see if I could actually hit the shoulder blade, but I didn't think I kind of managed it here. But again, we have another beautiful red fox down with the 22-250. And even at that slightly quartering angle, it was mostly broadside, but I'd say it was just slightly quartering. And it even looks like this fox was about to turn, looking at the position it's in. It actually got double lung, which, after looking at the penetration on the foxes with the 223, I'm not sure if the 223 would have actually been able to do that. I don't think it would have. I really do think that the extra penetration, I should say, from the 22-250 is what gave it the ability there to actually get through to double lung, and that's why I actually prefer the 22-250 over the 223. So if we're going to talk about comparing the two rifles, they have done a fantastic job with the buff on the 223. It's definitely more powerful than it was before, and it's definitely a more viable option now than it was in the past. However, the 22-250, I would say, is just a better choice if you're comparing the two, and I would definitely choose the 22-250 over the 223, just for that extra penetration, that extra bit of power that the 22-250 actually has behind it. And seeing as they cover, you know, exactly the same classes and everything, I definitely feel like the 22-250 is the way to go. Like I said, you know, we're not worrying about quick kill or anything like that, just purely worrying about the ability to be able to hit vitals and actually be able to punch through at, you know, maybe a more difficult angle or anything like that. I definitely feel like the 22-250 is the way to go. And yeah, that's why I didn't really worry too much about quick kill and stuff in this video. I did talk a little bit about bleed rates, and you know, both the 223 and the 22-250 did pretty comparable in terms of kill times, I feel. Especially, you know, on the foxes, they both were just dropping them, and the kangaroos and stuff, when you're getting just a lung shot, and the feral goats with lung shots, I feel like they were pretty comparable. but just the extra penetration from the 22-250, I really do just feel like that gives it the edge, and that's why it would be my choice out of the two. But they really have done a good job with the buff for the 223. I do want to just make that very clear, and it is definitely now a viable option if you want to carry that in your loadout, in my opinion. But that is going to be it for this video, so I really hope this has been a decent look at both the buffed 223 and the brand new 22-250, and given a little bit of comparison between the two, seeing as of course the 22-250 and the 223, they do cover the same classes, so I figured it would probably be a good way to both take a look at the way that the 223 has been buffed. It's definitely, you know, more powerful now than it was previously, and also to just give a bit of a comparison between the two, seeing as they are the two calibers that are being talked about with the release of this new map. So I really hope that this has been a useful video, and let me know down in the comments what you actually think about the buff for the 223. Does it impress you? Are you, interested in maybe using it in your loadouts after seeing how it performed in this video? And what do you think about the new 22-250? I think it's a really, really good rifle, and it's a really good option for those classes 2 to 4. I will definitely be carrying it and using it quite a bit, I feel. I really do like it. But that is going to be it for this video, as I said, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.